All right, we're live. Welcome to the Meet Your Species podcast. My name is Heath, and today we have Rayna, and I'm excited for this one. Rayna, we met from, I guess, technically Ahmad kind of set us up. He threw you into the wild in the yoga class with no preparation or any just go, pretty much.
Just like that.
So I hope we didn't torture you too bad.
No.
But I'm really glad because now we get to know you on a, little more intimate level, which is nice. So anyway, we start these by just kind of getting to know just the backstory, right? So we'll just start simple. Like, where are you from?
I am from here, College Park, Georgia, born and raised.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes. And this is actually the home I grew up in.
Really?
I've been here since I was 3.
That's amazing. I don't know. I've moved so many times. So
right.
Totally different thing. All right, cool.
And I'll travel everywhere, but I always come right back to this home. Yeah.
Fair enough. So tell me, what was growing up here like? Because I saw you got these nice woods in the back. Even that nice little driveway coming in super.
I know.
Feels good, like you're going
enchanted for seeing things.
Yeah.
So it's interesting because, I grew up in this home and on this land, and then we moved literally down the street, 2 streets over, to a bigger home because our family had gotten bigger. My mom biologically birthed 3 children, and then she adopted her 3 great nieces and nephews.
Oh, wow.
And they were 4 and 5. And so
it's a lot of kids.
At that point, it was 6 of us, 6 children, 2 adults. So then we had to get a bigger place. So we kept the home, but then we moved down the street. And then post-college, or my senior year of college, it was they were renting this house out, and they were going to sell it because it was I was just getting turned. I was like, no, I'll go back. And so moving back here, and then I left again to live with my partner at the time, and then I ended up coming back. So by the 3rd time I came back, I had such a different connection to the place than from childhood. Took everything for granted when I was little because I was so used to it. When you're growing up in something, you just don't really appreciate it or really know what you have until it gets tested. You may not have this anymore. Then you're like, oh wait, this is a treasure, So when we were first living here, my grandmother at one point lived with us as well in her last years. Well, almost her last years. And so I was in middle school then. And so she even had a garden out in the back and all of that. And I remember that. I remember having a garden back there. But again, I was young. So I wasn't even into, doing any of that or trying to help her. I was just a social butterfly and just, out and about. Now, living here now, and now having a daughter of my own, a 2-year-old, this is drifting, but I'd gone to do a ceremony, and in the ceremony, my grandmother visited me in the ceremony.
Oh.
She's transitioned since then. She transitioned when I was in middle school. And we were never super close like that. So it was really interesting, but I knew it was her. I'm like, got a Ruth? And that's what we called her. And
what was it, Grandma Ruth?
Gotti Ruth. Gotti Ruth. So Gody, Gotti Ruth.
Gotti Ruth.
And Ruth wasn't even her name either. Rosalie Newton. So, but I always, that was always what they called her, and that's always what I called her. And she was doing this motion, and she was, I could tell that she was telling me to grow a garden. And what I understood was it wasn't for me, it was for Rainbow, for my daughter. And so when I went, I was like, okay, well, let me find a piece of linen. I was like, well, in my mind, I'm like, well, I should probably grow it where she grew it, right? And so I'm going back there thinking like, yeah, we'll just do it here. And they're like, oh, you can't grow nothing back here. It's too shady. And I'm like, but my grandmother grew. I remember that she had a full garden back there, but then it had to dawn on me like, well, Rayna, you're talking 30 years ago.
The trees were smelling.
Exactly. And so, of course, everything has grown 30 years later. And so, so it's not the same space. So just adjusting to that, like the shifts of nature, like growing and blooming and blossoming to bigger and better, greater things. So it's interesting to be in this space now and trying to recreate my childhood, visions that I saw on the land and realizing like, well, it's not gonna be just like that, but you can create something even,
something new.
better. Yeah, something new. So it's I love being here now because I'm so much more aware of the space that I have and just trying to find all the magic and powers behind it. So it's fun. It's fun, like being at the same space that you grow up in.
So it's like one of 6 kids is, that's got to be a fun little circus. What was that like?
Well, let's start here. So I was the original baby of the first 3, right?
Let's say the oldest. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're the ringleader.
Well, so, no. So I had an older brother, and then my older sister, she was the middle child, and then it was me. So I was always treated like
the youngest.
Baby.
Yeah,
yes. And so when the new 3 came, I never gave my spot up. And they were like, the next oldest is 9 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So, and then the ones under her are not even a full year younger than her, and they're a set of twins. So they're all right there together, but I never gave my spot up. So it's like, to this day, it's always still like a thing with the family, like, oh, baby Pooh, always in Lala and Pooh. My brother calls it Pooey's world, so they call me Pooh or Pooey. And
why Pooey?
So my brother gave it a little twist and put the IE on it. Most of them called me Pooh. One of my mom's friends gave me that nickname from young. And so it stuck. And like to this day, like if you hear anybody, so Ahmad calls me Pooh.
Oh yeah.
But other friends, if you hear any of them call me Pooh, then you know they're childhood friends. Because those are the only ones that would call me that. Like, people I met later down the line, I never told them my name is, I never introduced myself as Pooh. Yeah. But you know me as Pooh if you've been around, for forever. And so he'll always be like, yeah, you're always in Pooey's world. But in my world, like, I was the baby, so I always got my way. So, I was fine growing up in the midst of 5 other, and really it wasn't even 5, just 5 others. Like we have an oldest sister, but she grew up in Texas and then came, once she was an adult and came down here. And she always treated me, like the baby sister. So, she always loves on me and gives me extra, attention and stuff. And then, after the set of twins, their first cousins moved up. They came from Nigeria and moved here, and actually everybody moved into this home originally. And it was 2 girls and they're younger, and so my mom was raising them at some point as well. So total she's raised 9 children, well, at least 9 children, because then you have like cousins that were living with us for a while. Right. But as far as like from young, yeah.
So you have family from Nigeria? Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Did you ever get to go?
I did.
Yeah?
I went for one of the cousins I was just speaking about, her mom's wedding. And that was maybe 2000, like 14, 15, something like that, or maybe 12, but in that area, and it was amazing. And it was great because that was my first time going to Africa. And I was told when I got over there, like, yeah, you got all the other countries in Africa, and you got Nigeria. and what I understood was, if you can survive in Nigeria, you can survive anywhere. So, and it was a lot.
So it's like the New York of Africa?
It was the New York of Africa, but New York ain't got nothing on Lagos. Nothing. Okay. Like, traffic 24 hours. It doesn't matter if it's 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the morning, 6 in the morning, like 6 in the afternoon. Like, it's always traffic. And they don't use lanes. You just merge with everything. Like, you're driving on the highway and everybody's just, there's no. And then, insurance, car insurance. You get in accidents. You get out, you argue about it, you pick up your bumper, you get back in the car, you keep it moving. And you better hurry up because the person behind you that's waiting for you to do all of this is about to cut you out too. So it was an amazing experience. It was definitely one for the books. But it was. Fantastic. I was fortunate for sure.
So how much of your family is still in Nigeria?
So it's my mom's oldest sister. Okay. So it's her, she married into the family. So
So it's sister-in-law or her husband?
Her husband. Gotcha. Well, not even husband, but who she had children with.
Copy that.
But only 3 of her 6. So she had 6 children altogether. Okay. And 3 of them came from this Nigerian man, and he took those 3 and took them back to Nigeria, like when they were young. So my mom's sister, my aunt, didn't even get to know them at all. They were babies. And so they've, grown families since then. So it's really more like extended family, right? So it's family. Gotcha. Married within family, right? But the cousins that I speak of, like, they're blood cousins because, of course, they came from my aunt. Mm-hmm. And so, she never even really knew them. They didn't come back over here. Like, when I said they moved in with us, they came when their mother had passed. Oh, that's and so they sad. were coming. I don't know if they were coming for the funeral because they missed the funeral. So, but they were coming to, like, I guess just connect with their other brothers and sisters. And but that was up in New York. But then they ended up. My mom was able, like, they came and they didn't like have anywhere to go and stuff like that. So my mom took all of them in.
Did they stay for a while?
Yeah, they stayed for a while. And then my mom was able to convince the son, their brother or whatever, to go into the military. And he's still, like, successful, ranking and everything. They live in Hawaii. Him and his family now live in Hawaii. And then the 2 sisters ended up in Texas eventually. Yeah.
So what was that like? If they spent that much time in Nigeria, there must have been a lot of, like, culture from over there that would have been new. So what was that like?
It was definitely something to adjust to. 'Cause they were, they were crunk. And Nigerians wear their emotions on their shoulders, their sleeves, just everything. Like, they don't have any filters. They're always ready to just, like, battle and like war. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I'll cut you. And I mean it. You know what I mean? So it's like a lot of, like, whoa, you can't just be cutting people in, So it was a lot to get used to, but just be cutting. I remember this a lot. They cooked a pot of rice every single day. And they ate that whole pot of rice. And I'm not talking about a little saucepan pie. No, I'm talking about the big pie. And they ate that every day. And I mean, with whatever else, but that was like, that's rice came from there. So, but that was the first time I'd ever seen rice cooked so much, so,
Oh, this is reminding me of India. There's times I had to cover it. Please no more.
right. Yeah. So, but it was cool. It was, I loved it. I love just mixing up cultures. And at that time, because I remember I ended up even taking my cousin as my show and tell.
Oh, that's cool.
Yes, I had to have been was I still in middle school then? Maybe high school, one or the other. But yeah, because I was like, who got family, coming from Nigeria and able to, so it was cool. It was cool. I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them a lot. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about the people that were around you growing up. Like, what kind of people were they? How did they help you just look at things the way you do?
I always had a loving village around me. I don't think I really recognized that that's what that was then, because I was just so used to being around it that it was just my norm, right? Mm-hmm. So I just grew up around people that always supported everything any of us did, of my siblings and family and stuff. And so one of my family members that inspired me a lot is my aunt Jennifer. And she still lives in St. So my mom's West Indian. My mom's from Antigua. And then my father's from Texas. Yeah, and they met in the Army. So, yeah, it was just interesting. So my aunt stayed in Antigua. They migrated to St. Croix. So my aunt still lives in St. Croix. And so she would come up for whatever, holidays, summers, whatever the case was. But I always loved and that's how I even got into wanting to even think about doing locks, that she had them. And I was just like, oh, because it was funny because I didn't even really, and this is so weird, I didn't even really connect with my West Indian culture until college. And I remember being in grade school and friends would always be like, why does your mom talk like that? And I was like, talk like what? And I had no idea what they were talking about. And then they would kind of try to mock or mimic how she talks. And I'm like, I never even heard it. It was
just the way it was.
But then I didn't really hear it because it never influenced the way I spoke. None of us talk West Indian. None of us sound.
Can you do the accent?
No. Oh, really? And I really can't. Some people can really kind of mock their grandmother, from the coastline, whatever. I can't. It just, no. And I sound really silly, so I'm not even gonna, no. So, no, it never clicked, which is interesting. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because my father was in the house who was from Texas, but I never sounded like him because he, put R's where they didn't belong. But so did my mother, but in a different way. So they would say, because that's what they would always say. So my name is Rayna, and they'd be like, no, your mom be like Raynar, and I'm like, does she? I don't hear that, And then my dad, instead of oil, would say Earl. You know what I mean? So, but I never talked like either one of them.
Such a mix.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess that's when school comes into play, because it's you spend most of your hours, there. So that's what I guess starts influencing your speech and your.
But I feel like you don't even have a Georgia accent, even though you grew up.
Right, but I wouldn't, because I went to school up north, and so did mine. But no, they didn't go to high school, middle school. I was up north from kindergarten. North meaning North Fulton County.
Oh, okay.
So I was part of this program called M to M, and it was basically minority to majority, or majority to minority. But basically, it was the merging of like the South Side and the North Side. South Side, of course, being mostly Black, and the North Side being mostly white. So it was trying to integrate the two. So like my brother, like I said, who's older, like they were like the pioneers of when they started doing the program. So by the time I went to school, I went from kindergarten. So I think it must be from, being around different people that's what influenced the way that I speak. Because then people be like, you from the West Coast? And I'm like, no. And I know I don't sound like I'm from the West Coast. Then they're like, you from New York? And I'm like, no. So I don't know what I sound like, but I
like
get
you.
everywhere but Georgia. so so I was influenced like from all corners. But like I said, like
did that program like even just looking back, did it mean anything to you, or was it just kind of normal? Like that's just the way it was.
I just thought it was normal. Like I didn't know anything about. I didn't know anything about it. Like I knew my neighbors weren't at the same schools as me. You know what I mean? But like going on the bus, we were on the bus going with all Blacks and stuff. So that was like our fun time. Then you were in school, you learned, and then you went back home, and then you couldn't wait to get back on the bus to be with your your crew and stuff. But then some were in classes with you, so it never. I don't know. It never affected me in any kind of way, but I think it's because I was embedded in it from so early on.
Yeah, it sounds like it worked.
It sounds like what?
Sounds like it worked, right?
Yeah, like for whatever it was that was supposed to be working. Like, I mean, I guess it was supposed to be one of those things where it was meant to prepare you for like the real world, because the real world wasn't going to just be all Blacks. The real world wasn't going to be all white. You know what I'm saying? So just being able to like mix and mingle and know how to, deal with everyone, right?
Yeah.
But then like I got out of school and I do all my own businesses and I'm just with my people and I love it. And I'm just like, well, shoot, so much for that. Like it was supposed to, like prepare me for a real world. But we create our own worlds. And so, and it wasn't like I was excluding. It's just what was magnet, that magnet, like what I was attracted, what got attracted to me from what I was, giving out. So
Yeah. Well, when I was going to school, like in Ohio, I think there were like maybe 2 Black people and 1 Hispanic person. Everyone else is white. And then I moved to Georgia in like 11th grade. So at that point, there's like a ton more diversity. I think I went from the soccer team being all white to I was one of 2 white people. Everyone else is Hispanic.
Right.
And I was terrible because they were so much better. But it opened things up to me in a certain way, because I realized how if you don't get exposed to stuff early enough, it feels weird sometimes. Like you just don't know how to see it as just normal. So it sounds like that definitely was very effective, because it was just from the beginning. That's the whole difference. Yeah, you're right. And it felt like I agree with that. I definitely agree with that, because I sure wasn't. I didn't see anything different. Like, whereas I started becoming more aware when I was getting new friends in middle school and high school who were just coming to the North Side, after their whole elementary school being on the South Side or from another state or whatever, where it was just different. And so then conversations started happening, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, and just becoming more open or aware to different things. So like what? Like what kind of conversations would happen? So like, just noticing a difference. So like, so it would be this thing where, it would be like, oh, they being the white people love them some Rayna. That's just their little token Black friend. Because but then I was also in advanced classes. And so most of the advanced classes was still predominantly white. And so,
I've been in class with these people since elementary school. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was again just friends. But then they would make like my newer friends would make me more aware of just like you're not them. And it's like, oh, ain't nobody trying to be them. Like I'm just being mm-hmm. me. So, but it was actually like it really wasn't that like crazy. Like everyone eventually like adjusted. Mm-hmm. To just what our space was. And I loved Riverwood. Like, we had a great amount of, we really had a good diversity there. And everyone left that school I graduated in 2000. And our class of 2000 was amazing. Like, we were all close. I just last weekend went to hang out with a friend from high school was down visiting, and he was like, oh, well, I'm going to get some of the other people together. And it was like, real reunion, like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you since high school. But it was like being able to pick up where you left off, like everybody looks the same. And, we were just real close. We were a real close, knitted, village. It didn't matter where you came from,
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah, so it wasn't like any kind of, cray-cray stuff. I mean, you had to get bowed every now and then. Like, when they got to do Black History Month, so we had to protest and, like, walk out, and I was at the forefront of it, like, we're walking out today. You know what I'm saying? But that's, like, as bad as we got. Like, it wasn't horrible, so.
So, what'd you do for fun? Do you have hobbies or sports, or what was your interests when you were younger?
Hanging out, of course. I still am such a social butterfly, but just like, I always want to be around my friends, to the point where, this is so fun. This is great. Cause this is really making me realize how much, influence Avon has had on my life. I would go, and so there was this crew. We were called the crew. It was me, Ahmad, this friend of ours, Fallon, and our homie Jamal. And we hung out all the time. But I wanted to be around and hang out so much that I would like go over to Ahmad's house to go to, if I was tired, I would just go over there and take a nap so that if something popped out while I was asleep, he would just wake me up and then we'll just, go and kick it. Like, I just always wanted to be like around my friends. But I also played tennis. I started playing tennis in middle school, and still play, which came from my brother. My brother was the first to play in the family. And then my mom going to his matches, his junior matches, one of the parents was like, oh, have you ever played? And she's like, I played a little. And they're like, well, you should come out, and play. So she ended up playing. So she still plays. Like, she's the captain of our current tennis team, like our USCA and Alta teams. And my sister plays. And then my mom put us in piano when we were young. And so she let my brother and my sister quit. And when I tried to quit, she was like, oh, no. Yeah,
at least one.
You're not going anywhere. And I guess she probably saw something that I didn't even see at the time. And I don't feel like I'm a natural at it, but I learn well. Like, I can see something done and pretty much, mimic it. And so I guess she could see that. And so she wouldn't let me quit. And so I'm glad she didn't, because that happened in middle school. In middle school, you don't want to do anything. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Productive. Like, whatever they say, you want to go the total opposite way. So I got over that hump, and then by high school, I loved playing again. And so I ended up majoring in music in college.
Really?
And music performance. And I had this whole dream, like, oh, I'm going to graduate and tour Europe playing Rachmaninoff and all this kind of stuff. And you know what? I'm so mad that at that time I really didn't, and I do know the power of my words, but I wish I had kept just saying it because I really could have been doing that. And I really could have been doing it because I have family in Europe, in the UK. And not just family, just like, oh, people just live there. No. Like, influential musical family. So, did you, by chance, watch Meghan's wedding, the Prince Harry and Meghan's wedding, or know anything about? Okay.
I mean, I know of the thing, but I didn't really watch it.
So, at the wedding, like, there was the whole talk was just because there was so many, like, black, like, there was like a gospel group, I think, that sang, and there were, there was a lot of black influence on the wedding that had never happened before in any of the royal weddings, right? And my cousin was it was a solo celloist that played at the wedding. And so all the siblings in their family play the strings. So they like are a big influence in the UK and stuff. So it was like, and I have a cousin that's older, so his aunt that would have been able to be, she's a piano teacher, and she would have been able to be my link. Like, if I had just really followed that, I really could have been probably, it didn't matter. I could have done it in a little nook, a little bar or whatever, but I could have been really like touring Europe, playing right now, but I got into hair. I was like, I want to do hair. And so that's when I just started my business of hair. I started that in college. But so growing up, yeah.
Why hair?
Real talk.
What else?
In 1999, guys started growing their hair out and wearing cornrows again. Cornrows were coming back. And I had a lot of male friends, like homies. And I love I really do love people this much. And I was like, you know what? I want to learn how to braid so I can braid their hair for them. And so...
Like, just for that?
Just for that. And I, like, always knew how to do hair a little bit. Like, enough. Like, I was doing my own hair. I think my mom said either first or third grade. Like, I probably was really doing it by third. And in first grade, I was, like, decorating it, like, coming up with these. I would wear a ponytail, and they're these, like, if you ever see little girls, and they wear their hair in ponytails, but they have these balls, these little barrette balls on each of their ponytails or whatever. Yeah. So I would take those little barrette balls, ponytail holders, and I would line them all the way down my ponytail. Like, just be doing something different. Mm-hmm. And then I would, like, do these flip bangs. Like, people start wearing this style called a fan. And I would do a fan, but then I would do, like, another bang underneath it. And, just, like, add extra stuff. So I always kind of knew how to do or be creative. But, again, once I knew how to do something, you just show me how to do it. I can mimic and really get good at it. So I was like, okay, this is just like French braid, just smaller and tighter. And I got good. And who did I get good on? Not Ahmad. But Ahmad's younger brother, Omar. Like, I'm telling you, this is wild. Like, our connections run deep. But yes, because Omar had this, like, great long hair, and he was so patient with me. But I got really good on him. And then by the time I got to college, I was banking. So, like, sophomore year, I didn't even want to go back to college. I was like, I'm just going to do hair. And my mom was like, that's great. Sign up for your next class. And so I'm glad she made me finish because, like I said, I majored in music, and I teach to this day. So I teach piano lessons, and I do hair. So I do hair full time, and then I teach part time private lessons.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I do it all right here in my home. I have my piano studio over there, and my whole salon.
Work from home.
Yes,
I love it.
Yes. Utilizing this land to its fullest. I love it. So yeah. So that's why. But then, like, later you learn when you start, like, going back and connecting to your roots that it's innate. Like, my grandmother on both sides did hair. I knew my grandmother, my father's mother, did hair. She's been doing hair. She's been doing hair for 70 plus years. And so I thought she had retired. But no, my big mama is still doing hair. And I'm like, and she'll be 88 this year. And I'm like, big mama, whose hair are you doing? I'm like, I've got to come to Texas, come to Amarillo, so I can sit in your shop and see you do hair. Like, I cannot believe that she is. But she was like big there, like winning the competition, the hair competitions, and in their Hall of Fame, you know, and stuff in Amarillo. And her biggest claim is that one time Tina Turner was passing through and came to her salon to get her hair done. Yeah, like it was probably en route with wherever they were traveling to. So yes, yeah. So cool. She did hair. And then I recently, like literally like this week, found out my maternal grandmother did hair. I knew she like baked and sewed and was a seamstress, but I just found out she did hair too. So it's like embedded. You know, it's genetic. Or so, you know, so.
Apparently music is too.
Yeah, you know, it is. Like that one really is. Like all of my mother's father's side are musicians and stuff. So that's like even the ones that I'm talking about in Europe, they're all from my mother's side, like on my mother's father's side. Like it's just music is everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, with them. So yeah.
Well. Mm-hmm. So you've brought up your grandmothers a couple times, like different ones. Mm-hmm. What kind of people were they? I'm always interested in like, things have changed so much in the last, 100 years? Mm-hmm. So I feel like the people that grew up a couple generations back were just tremendous people in some ways. Mm-hmm. So what kind of people were they? What kind of wisdom do you feel like they had?
So I think that, with both of them, it's interesting because whereas like you have a lot of people who will tell you like they grew up around their grandmothers and stuff, and like their grandmother basically like raised them. Like that wasn't my case. My mom and dad raised us. And my grandmother that lives in Texas would come and visit every now and then. We would go down there as well, but it wasn't like we saw each other like all of the time, right? And then the most I saw my maternal grandmother was like we went to St. Croix a few times and visited her as well. But then when she moved in with us up here, but that was like in her older years. And then I was, like I said, elementary, middle school, and so just being like a regular kid. So you're not trying to really hang with your grandma all the time, you know. Then I was, and she just seems so strict sometimes to me. And so, you know, I'm kind of trying to avoid her. So, you know, this is a side note. One of my favorite stories, though, with my maternal grandmother, Gotti Ruth, was that she had such a short patience. So she was like telling me to go get tree strawberries, and she was like, it's in the freezer. So she goes there, you know, tree strawberries. So I go to the freezer, and I'm like, I don't see a strawberry tree. And so I'm like, Gotti Ruth, you know, I don't see it. She's like, I was like, I don't see no strawberry tree. And she's like, no, tree, 3. And I'm like, but she was snapping on me by then. And so like, that's how I always remember her. It's just always being kind of like snappy with me and impatient with me. But I realized now that it's just, West Indian women are just, they're a different generation. They're very strong-minded, strong-willed, independent. Like I said, my grandmother was hustling. She was a seamstress, she was a baker, and she was doing hair, you know? And then my paternal grandmother was rocking things in Amarillo, doing hair stuff, having her salon and all that. So that owning your own business, like, was always there, right? Mm-hmm. So even with me not being like super close to them, their energies still naturally just
seeped in.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think part of that is that part that's just spirit that's also there, right? You got energy as well, and it's just spirit. Like it just exists. So if you just go with the flow and you really just like don't try to go against what you really feel within and vibe with, that it always just will connect you to your roots. You know what I mean? Because then even I just learned today that my great grandmother, so Gotti Ruth's mother, great grandma Alvina, she was also a baker, but she was also selling Lucy's.
What's a Lucy?
Cigarettes.
Oh.
But single ones, which was illegal. And so...
Why just one at a time?
I know. And well, you know, people still buy it like that too. You know, so it's legal now, I guess. Well, I don't know. Is it legal now? I don't know. But it was illegal then, but...
Why would it be illegal to sell one at a time, but a pack's fine?
Because I guess it's kind of like... You know how like things would say on packages like not for retail sale or whatever.
Yeah.
So I guess it's kind of like that. Like you already bought it, you can't then be telling someone you've been a resale. But I mean, people do that all the time, so I don't know.
Only I can make money from this product. You can't resell it. How dare you?
You know what I'm saying? So you just have to charge. But you know, I just love that. Like going against the grain, just being down and it just and so what's funny is but the funny part of the story is so my mom's father, my grandfather, his father they came from Dominica. And when they moved to Antigua, so also this grandmother, my great grandmother, Alvina, also owned properties in Antigua, like 5 homes. And so one of the homes that she owned, my great-grandfather, so my grandfather's father, when they came from Dominica, had moved into their home. So he was counselor. What's that? So the police, is it called counselor?
Yeah, I guess.
Whatever they call it, right? But like the police, right? So when he was staying in her home and stuff, like all was well, like he knew she was selling the Lucy's and stuff, but whatever. But then when they moved to another property, like across town or whatever, he started snitching on her. Oh. and they would come and confiscate her stuff. But then she would just get some more stuff and start selling again. So, you know.
You took my pack of cigarettes.
Right.
I'll have to go buy another one. It's fun.
So, you know, she was just about it. You know, and so learning this, like I love, like, so I'm now in a space where I'm more conscious of having conversations with my mom to hear the stories, you know, of my those who came before me, the women that came before me. And then you start really like seeing the connections of like, that's why I do that. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool. So it's neat. Yeah. So I'm just learning their stories, you know, because like I said, like I didn't really grow up with them like that. But my dad right now is writing his mom's story. She's the only still living grandparent I have. And so, yeah, he's writing her story so that we'll have it to then be able to...
Like into a book or what? Yeah,
like he's typing up. So he goes and interviews her all the time because he lives in Texas now. And so...
That's really cool.
He goes and interviews her all the time and, you know, is getting all the information.
How's she feel about it?
Loves telling the story. Oh. Yeah, she loves us. Cause that's... So, and I always... So for me, Big Mama was always joyous and laughing and jolly, you know, all the time. Like, laughs. And I'm like, girl, ain't nothing funny. But, you know, she just is always happy. But then come to find out, like, she was whooping ass growing up. Like, you know, and taking numbers and just like, who want it? Like, you know, so I'm just like, that so seems out of character for her. But, you know, so I'm enjoying, you know, starting to learn the other side of Big Mama.
Fair enough.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's beautiful.
All right. Question you don't have to answer.
Okay.
But what is the most difficult thing you've had to overcome?
You know, it's so funny. I wonder about things like this. Because I think about, I mean, like, I know that I've experienced difficult things, but it's like those things never sit at the forefront of my, like, headspace, my mind, that I could tell you one thing now, and then, like, later after y'all leave, I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm tripping. Like, it was something way more deeper and difficult that I had to deal with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But one of the most difficult things I had to do, then I'll give you two.
Okay.
So, and they're both dealing with transitions. So, in high school, this always used to kind of, I guess, happen, but, you know, I don't know, you just don't ever think it's going to happen to you. I lost two really good friends of mine in a car accident. And they were being driven by another one of our friends at the time. And so that whole space was just so difficult because losing a classmate. That had never happened to me before. And then the classmate that did survive was so weird and bizarre. And his energy was just so, like, looking for everyone to sympathize him. Like, woe is me. And I'm like, you're still here. And you literally kind of walked off with, like, a scratch. You know what I mean? And it just got so weird in our spaces, in our lives. But I had to speak at her funeral. It was Tiffany and Stephanie. So I had to speak at Tiffany's funeral. And I was young. I may not have even ever been to a funeral at that point. Because even when my grandmother transitioned, she was back in St. Croix. So I didn't go to that funeral. And a lot of people in my family just weren't transitioning. So I didn't have to have that space or whatever. So I didn't know any better. And like, even to the point of recognizing that the reason her mom had asked me to speak was because of who I was. You know what I mean? I didn't understand that, didn't know that I was grieving. You know what I mean? So the funeral came up on me. I hadn't even So I didn't even prepare for it. And so, like, I remember calling one of my aunts, one of my mom's best friends, and just, you know, my mom, God, she was always a good my mom has always been my savior. And so she's like, you know, she needs, like, a speech too for it. And so it was so, like, basic. And I feel bad now. Like, I felt bad afterwards because I was kind of like, I remember looking at Tiffany's mom from the pulpit. And, I'm not a pulpit, from the...
What podium?
The podium. And I remember her giving me that just, like, look of approval. Like, you know, you're good, you can do this. And I said it and stuff, but I was just, like, later down the line, of course, thinking, like, damn, I wish I had really, like, understood what I was supposed to be doing, you know, in that space and time, and just, like, told my story of our lives together, because both of them influenced my life heavily, like, or I should say permanently, because Tiffany was, like, the original, like, child hairdresser, right? And so she would experiment on my hair, and she had done these braids on me once that had rubber, and she used rubber bands to lock, like, separate and section my hair first, and then braid it on top of it. Well, when it got time to take the braids out, so my hair fell out. And, like, to this day, I still have this space, but I was like, she was leaving her mark on me. You know what I mean? Like, for real. And I was just like, wow, that was like, that's deep. And so like I ended up putting a tattoo there as a symbolic part. And but she was the one that was business minded, and it like infused in me, and I became like an entrepreneur and did hair, right? Stephanie was an amazing tennis player, and she was the first one that recruited me to come play like with the other children that were our age. Like, well, by then we were in high school, so with other high schoolers at this local tennis park. Tennis center, McGee, and with a coach. And I never like had a coach outside of like the high school coach, which wasn't really a coach. You know, they just were the sponsors.
Play the game.
And so, right. And so she taught me my serve. And to this day, I'm a great server. And so they both just like left such a mark, you know, on my life, and I'm sure everyone else's lives that were close with them at that time. So I wish I had just like been known better to, you know, been able to pay homage better to them at the time. Well, in this case, Tiffany at the time. But you know, I know she knows my heart and everything, right? But then earlier this year, I lost one of my students. He was one of my first piano students, and it was to suicide. And I had never dealt with, I never experienced a suicide, and we were close. Like he was 25 at that time, and so he had gone from being my student to, like, as a matter of fact, I kind of forgotten that I taught him, because then we just became really close. Like, we were both Pisces, and he just always admired me, and he was just such a beautiful spirit. Like, I could see beyond all of the stuff that, you know, most people like, he's kind of weird. You know what I mean? And I was just like, I love it. You know, I was always like, I just love those people that were seen as like the, you know, outcasts or the awkward, or it's just, I was so intriguing to just like, you really learn like who they were. And so,
especially because they usually are somebody instead of just hiding behind other things.
Right. And they're usually really amazing, dope people. And so I got to know his amazing dopeness. And so,
his dopeness. I love that.
Yes. And so to, you know, have to deal with that was very difficult. But I was able to overcome it because by that time, like, I started really connecting with nature, as far as being in tune to nature, right? And really like getting those messages from especially the animal world. And I was given, in particular, it was this one message. The next day I went on a walk and I saw a vulture on the walk. And me and this elder friend of mine, Itia, walk this walk all the time. And this particular day, we were like, there's a vulture. And it was huge. And I was just like, that's so bizarre. Like, and so I realized later, once I went home, and there's this book I have called Animals Speak. And it's a really good, like, just like understanding the messages that come right through. And it was such a beautiful, like, story, this Native American story that went with it, and all of that, that I really overstood that it was Kadir letting me know, you know, that everything was good, that people sometimes have to sacrifice. Like, we never know. Those who are carrying the weight of the world, those who aren't carrying the weight of the world don't understand what that space is, right? And so with that, and this is me. Everybody's gonna be different, right? But this is what I was able to gather and understand, and that was that he had to self-sacrifice in order to release that heaviness to gain those, for those who he loved and that loved him, for them to gain that lightness. You know what I mean? Like in this realm. So, like instantly after it happened, even with his mother, like she makes kombucha, and she has her own that she makes, and she's been doing it for years, and she's just be doing it for like her family, for her household and stuff, and then started like doing it locally, and that same day she was shipping off her first 1,000 bottle order to Florida, to an actual like, you know, store or whatever. And so, and since then it's just been booming, you know? And so, great things have, you know, of course happened in my realm and as well. And so it's just like, wow, like, you know, you be thinking like, oh, I'm losing somebody. But then when you understand that, like, no, you're gaining them forever, because as an ancestor, they're going to be able to always be there. You know, it's a beautiful space to like recognize, you know what I mean? And so that was definitely like, but definitely one. So saying all that to say, for his service, like because we were so close, his mom asked me to speak. And so this would now only be the second time ever that I'm speaking, but I learned my lesson from the first one, and I was so much more well prepared, and it was beautiful, and I was able to really express everything that I felt, and you know, leave people knowing more about him than they may have known or not have known, you know, and so and people were coming up to me like, that was really good. And I was like, thank you. You know, so I felt like, okay, I'm good now, you know. So it's like a balance, you know. So, yeah.
You've got a certain beautiful way of looking at things. It's always something, because, you know, you can look at something however you want, right? That's on you. But it reminds me of this story I think you might like. There's a, you know, Sadhguru, the one that taught all the yoga?
Yes.
So he tells this story, and he says there was a father and he had two sons, and they were like extremes. One saw everything like positive and one saw everything negative. So he thought, let me try and break this and see if I can get them to see the other side. So for one son, he put all like gifts and presents, giant piles of toys, whatever the kid, you know, might like. And for the other, he put a giant pile of horse poop. And so, as expected, he heard crying from one room. And so he went and he came close and he's like, wait, it's the kid with all the toys. And so he opened the door and he's like, what's going on? And the kid's like, I have to share all the toys now. And then he's hearing laughing from the other room, and he's like, what? And so he goes over and opens the door, and the kid's like, I think there's a pony nearby. He's so excited.
Yes, I love it.
You're the pony one.
Yes, I am.
That's like everything about you, and I love it. I just love it to death.
It's funny, and I can't even tell you where it came from, because I just was having this conversation with my mother literally 2 days ago. And I was like, you always see the glass half empty, and I always see it half full. You know, she's like, that's right. So I don't know who
Ain't it terrible?
You know? So, and it's fine because, you know, that's the balance. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, you know, I'm learning to respect. Oh, it's so hard sometimes, but I'm learning to respect that space of hers. Like, because I realize, like, at the end of the day, it's not even meant to be, you know, negative or funky. Like, it's just, that's who she is. That's who she had to be, you know. And it's probably a good thing that she is that way, because then I know she got my back. And so while I'm off in, look, Pooey's world, like my brother says, you know, my mom's combating the blocking all the stuff that, you know, otherwise would pop my bubble. You know what I mean? So
I don't think it's poppable at this point.
Man, so I don't know, but yeah, And so, like, that's why I was saying earlier when you were asking about, what's the most difficult, I'm like, I'd have to really think about it because I'm like, I don't sit with those things long. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, I have to find the light, or, you'll just be in that darkness, and I got a light. I need that light bright.
All right. Well, let's use that light bright because I think it'd be interesting to see what you think about the future, because a lot of times when you look on any TV station or YouTube, like it's doom and gloom. It's like we're on the edge of civil war. That's how people feel. And maybe they're right. I don't know. But I do know that I left 4 years ago to go to India in 2016. And by the time I came back, just before COVID happened, I swear it was like the tension everywhere was so thick. It's ridiculous. It blew my mind. I just could not understand why. So how do you look at all of this? And what do you see when you think about the future? When you think about the world around you?
I don't. So, it's just it is getting deep, right? Because it's really like, creating turmoil between friends and family, and there's just this whole, it's those who are vaccinated and those aren't. Yeah. And if you're not, then, it's just this, it's so deep. And,
why is this a thing? I've never had such division over a vaccine before in my life.
I've never, but you probably wanted that because, see, now we're influenced way more than we've ever been influenced before because of technology, right? So even when things were being pushed probably before, you had to pick up the paper to know about it, or had to have access to a TV to know and stuff. Whereas everybody didn't have, so everybody didn't have TVs, and everybody couldn't read, and everybody, so you had to be in certain, circles and ciphers to even know and stuff and all of that. Whereas now, everybody has it in the palm of their hand. So everybody hears it, Because I remember thinking, I wonder how long it's going to take the homeless people to know that there's a pandemic happening. You know what I'm saying?
That's a valid question.
And I wondered that, and I was wondering, I wonder if they know. But because they're more in an animalistic mind state, right, which is in tune to nature, they probably knew before even some people who live in homes knew, because they're sitting there in the streets and it's like, wait a minute.
What's wrong?
There aren't any cars out on these streets. Ain't nobody out here, like, something's wrong. You know what I mean? Or something's changed, or knowing it. So, and their ears in the street. So they hearing people walking down the street talking about stuff. So, they probably actually knew a lot sooner than I'm giving them credit. But yeah, it's really, but then there's that space of those who are vaccinated, those aren't, and then it's just getting deeper, right? Because now we're getting out of the space of having a choice, and it's becoming this mandated type of thing, blah, blah, blah. But you're never, ever going to be able to force everyone to ever do anything. So what we have to be able to do is stand strong in whatever your belief is. You know what I mean? Like, so my mother is such an advocate, of course, of the vaccine. Like, every time I go walking past her shampoo, so she shampoos for me in my salon. Every time I'm walking past the shampoo bowl, did you get your vaccine?
Get the jab.
Right, of course. And I'm just like, so now I'm going to have that talk with her. Because, so you may not know this, but in hair school, we were taught there are certain things you just don't talk about in the salon. Politics, religion,
the stuff they used to say don't do at the dinner table, right?
Same thing, right? So now I'm at the time, that includes vaccines. Like, I need to, because I just don't, and I think because she's my mother, there's that respect factor there, right? So people aren't really, like, I'm thinking that people are getting, like, offended, but they're like, girl, it's your mama, who cares? Not like who cares, but it's just like, She your mom, of course she's gonna take that stance and this and another or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So they're not offended. So I'm glad for it, but you know, there's some rules. You know what I'm saying? But you know, so it's that they're so strong-minded, right? And it's so funny because it's like it's so interesting the things that I've always been that type of person that if everybody is going with it, I kind of typically will go the other way because I'm kind of like, there's something strange about that. Like I always felt like that was where that mind control factor came from. Like there was something that whoever they is would be able to like, you know, get everybody to like zone in and tune into, and then, you know, everybody becomes zombies and they just go with it. Because I was like, how are all these people advocates for something that is brand new, that they don't know anything about, you know what I'm saying, but are so pressed on, but it's because the press is telling them to, but you know, the news and everything else is telling them to push it. And it's so much influence there that it's now brainwashing and everybody's falling in line. You know what I mean? So it's going to be important for, you know, those who go against the grain to really like stand strong and, you know, fight they fight. You know what I'm saying? And feel just as big about it as those who are for it or whatever. And it's nothing to nobody about anything. I'm personally not a big vaccine person, period. Like I'm just not a big drug person. Like, you know, medical drugs, whatever. And so, you know, I'll take my stance and I'm not big about arguing about it. You know, I just say my piece if you ask. And that will be to say, no, Rainbow's not getting, like Rainbow doesn't have any vaccines. And Rainbow has gotten sick all of 2 times in her life so far. You know what I mean? I believe in natural healing. Like I believe in, you know, medicine that comes straight from the earth, you know, ourselves, like what we have, like if we're healthy and stuff. So, you know, I just try to like really protect that purity, you know, in her. So as far as where we're going, there's also still the influence of, or what's becoming influence of more people actually opening their eyes and believing more in themselves, right? In the midst of all of this, because then when you start feeling like it's the end of the world, you're like, well, hell, do I want to be in the end of the world still doing this shit I can't stand doing? You know what I mean? Or do I want to be doing something I love? So you have more people taking those leaps. So now you got more small businesses that you've ever had existing, you know, but it's just beautiful to see people, you know, doing what they love and trying to make that their, you know, livelihood, as opposed to just working for someone and you can't stand it. And it's not that everybody has to work for themselves, but do what you love doing. And I feel like more people are starting to get in that space. More people are even starting to become more open to alternative medicine and just going more of that natural way. You know what I mean? That natural path. So I love the space we're in right now. Like I feel like my influence is about to be in that space of, you know, just the things that I've always embodied or that were my interests and things that were in Pooey's world, you know, now being able to like share that with friends that I've had for years who, you know, just didn't ever have anyone in their space to like show them a different way. You know what I mean? Because at this point, I'm 21 years in the game doing this, you know, as far as like my own thing, you know, and so them seeing the success of that is like, well, shit, there got to be something legit about it. You know what I mean? And so to share that, and then to tell them like, you really can do this too, so just opening that space for others to build and just be who they really want. Like, I think that's where a lot of people are going to be more comfortable in just being them, and breaking a lot of the, it's not curses, but those things that always kept their family like in a certain type of flow that wasn't making them succeed but so much because they just couldn't break down that wall. You know what I mean? So
I found this a lot, like so for example, my grandmother was alive during the like Depression times. So her childhood meant standing in line for bread and pantyhose and whatever else things that would get butter, I think. So that instilled like a whole lifetime of kind of hoarding things, that scarcity mindset, like a lot of fear. And it just, I don't know, seeing it and watching how that played out in her life, you can see how it impacted so much. So I try and think of these things like, if we can just get people to move past that scarcity mindset, which is difficult, especially if you don't have a lot of support from your family. Like, I was lucky enough that if I ever fell, there was someone to help. So I was able to take a risk. But a lot of people don't have that. Like, it's just you and you're going to starve if you don't figure it out. So they feel trapped in a certain situation. Or like if you have a ton of debt, for example, going to school or whatever.
Right.
Like my sister went to law school, and when they graduated, they pretty much told her like, yeah, because of LegalZoom and other these kind of online services, most of the bread and butter lawyers had is gone. So good luck with your $100 and some $1,000 loan. I mean, but what to do? That's just the world at this point. So I like what you're saying about like people getting to do something that they actually love to do. I would really love if we got to a point where we just acknowledge like, okay, we don't actually all have to be grinding away just to eat. That's a little silly. Right. We're kind of complicating survival process at this point. So how do we make it a little bit simpler so that, maybe you do a few hours of work every day, just whatever you need to survive, and then the rest of the time do what you want, live your life. It shouldn't be more complicated than that. I don't feel like doing a 12-hour day just to barely scrape by makes sense. Right. We don't need that.
Right. I would love to, if we went back to even like basic, like, but we go back to bartering. And everybody has their trade and their crafts. And, I so wish that we could like get rid of this money system because, that's what sucks, because that's what people are always a lot of times chasing. Like, they just want to be able to have that $2. And it's like, $2 what? You know what I mean? Like, if there aren't those things to be purchasing and things like that, then what? What are you going to do? You know? So it's like, what are the things beyond that are like within, like deep within, that really bring you joy, and building on that, because that's of course where a lot of people's now small businesses are coming back from that space of what brings you joy. Like, thinking back in childhood when, what was the things that you really like doing then, you know what I mean? And that space that you just haven't been able to tap into since you became an adult, and had to take care of bills and this and the other. But everybody knows how to do something. Everybody is crafty and has a specialty in something, and everybody's is different. Some just gonna be the same because you have to have the group sections of whatever. But we all have some kind of way to benefit from each other, and so if it was just a way to kind of like flow like that, which would then open up more space and time to enjoy each other and just like be in each other's company and just like connect like that and just connect back with even Mother Earth and stuff, that would be beautiful. But, also to that, like, I guess, especially like me being a new mother, like I'm thinking about this generation that's coming up after us. And it's going to be amazing to see what they're going to do with this shift, you know. And I honestly have confidence in them. Like, I don't have that nervousness of like, because honestly, I feel like this is probably the same story that gets told every generation, you know what I'm saying? Like, or every 2 generations, you know what I mean? Because you probably have at least a couple living in the same time and space. So it's like, there's always going to be that scare factor, you know, to make you think it's all about the end and then what to do, you know, or whatever. But
what to do,
you know, and so, but to like have those who don't have fear, and there's always a group that don't, and they're going to be the ones that are going to like elevate everything, you know. But I have faith in them. They bout it. Like, I'm even just looking at my 2-year-old. I instantly knew when she came into this room, like, oh yeah, so you're back again. You know what I'm saying? Like, full grown old soul, and you know, she just has so much wisdom, and I love the lessons that she teaches me. But yeah, no, she's ready, you know. So I literally just let her guide how I bring her up. Like, I'm not trying to mold her into anything. Like, I'm letting her tell me what she needs. Like, I'm here to assist you. You know, I was just your pathway to get into this realm. And so, just tell me what you need from me, you know? So, which isn't, was definitely not my parents' mind state, you know, or their parents, because in their spaces, there were different missions at that time, right? So you had the generation that was stepping out, there was in slavery, and then stepping out of slavery and trying to just like create life, you know, and then, okay, now that we've created life, now this next generation, okay, now we have the space that we can do more than just create life. We can like set a foundation, you know? So that's like what my parents were doing. They were setting the foundation for us. And then, which allowed me to be a dreamer, right? And then just like, okay, whatever I say, I'm going to do, you know, and able to do that. And so, and allowing my daughter to do the same thing, which was not what my mom let me do. I mean, you know, she did, but not really. You know, she's still kind of like I said, I want to get a piano. I was like, no, you're staying in, you know. But, I mean, that's a, you know, small thing, but, you know, just in general. But, yeah, it's like, so every generation, there's a slight, hope that there's a slight shift that allows a little bit more space or that bandwidth to, you know.
Well, in many ways, that's kind of like, if you think about it, every generation has 2 goals. One, the planet should be at least as good as it was given to you for the next generation. And the next generation itself should be at least 1 notch off better than you were. Right? And if you really think about it, like what you're saying, if you go back maybe before the 1850s or so, something like that, your life was pretty much the same as your parents, unless some big shift happened, like a migration to a new country or something like that, or a new like maybe 1 or new technologies might come in your life, right? But other than that, it was pretty much the same life. So your goal was just pretty simple in terms of preparing the next generation, because it's the same life you're probably had, you know? It's easy to adapt to that. But then now it's like new things so quickly that the speed at which it's changing is so fast that the only thing you can do is not prepare a specific skill except how to adapt and just see things the way they are and deal with it. And so that's kind of the beautiful thing. Like,
right.
I have no idea. And like this child that you have, whatever she's going to do, there's no way that you can really prepare her or anyone else for that.
Right.
And the way we're doing education is like information. It's like, no, they can Google that. That's not a relevant thing anymore.
Right.
It's like cursive. Cursive was a beautiful solution to a problem that no longer exists.
Right.
It's like,
which sucks because I love cursive. And I think cursive is so beautiful. Speaking of cursive, one of my pianos, I have an adult student, and I'm teaching her what's called legato. And legato is when you're playing two keys when you're playing different keys, but they're smooth and connected. Mm-hmm. And so like it takes the air out of it. So instead of like choppy, like dun, 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 it's dun, dun, dun. You don't hear a break. And she was like, also legato was like the cursive piano. And I was like, it is the cursive of piano. And I was like, oh my God, that was like the most beautiful way that you could have described it. That's how much I love cursive. I'm like, yes. And I was great at writing cursive. So I appreciate it. And I got my handwriting from my father. My father had beautiful cursive handwriting. So, I hate that it's going away. Like, I'm just like, that sucks. But you're right. And so, with that being said, like, what I refuse to do is stress myself trying to prepare her for something that you wake up the next day and you're like, oh, the new color is green. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the whole world of the Wiz. So, it's just like, I just was like, you know what? Again, I'm allowing, the reason why I won't influence her so much because we naturally come into this space being way more in tune than we give ourselves credit for or whatever, or just what gets understood. And so I want to try to keep that, like what's the word? It's not cherish, but as best as possible, like allow that to exist as long as possible, because as long as she stays in tune, she knows what's coming. She knows what needs to be done. You know what I mean? And so I don't want her to get brainwashed where she then isn't able to tap into that space and then just gets lost. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so because when you're able to stay in that alignment and in tune, our ancestors are going to guide us. Like, they're out there working for us and like creating the past and making sure that, like, as long as we're like staying connected with them, they're going to guide us and tell us. So, I don't have any fears, but whatever it is that's happening, there's always going to be something happening. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful and grateful that, I have my own space that I can always just, my thing is like, y'all need somewhere to go. Come to the rainforest. We'll be here. And I'm off the grid. Like, Google Maps, how they always, can do those 3D and whatever of showing your home and stuff. On Google Maps, I ain't nothing but trees. You can't even see my house. You know what I'm saying? So I'm in the perfect nook. So, I'm just going to stay here and chill until I know otherwise. But yeah. I can't worry myself ragged over like the world's problem. I don't know. Because there's always something that's going to be coming up and happening, so.
True. So, when you think about the community around you, what are the things you would like to see? Because, forget about the whole world. What can you do about that? But the things that are within reach, what would you like to see happen?
I would like to see us believe more in ourselves and let that guide our where we're going. Like, my community alone, like, I want to see more giving back. Like, I want us to connect more. We just don't connect enough. Everybody's so independent, but that's like that American, like that. It's just not enough. Us trying to really like help each other, make sure we all, rise together. So I would like that. I would like people to be more concerned and acknowledge each other, daily, weekly, whatever, just like checking in and, okay, and if you're not good, what can I do to help? You know what I mean? Just really being there for each other, way more. Even down to like thinking about, I was just talking to somebody the other day about the first thing a child does after they graduate is either they go to college or whatever, but they're going to like move out of their parents' home. And then they go and they're paying rent or giving money to a stranger. And that makes no sense. Like, stay home, give money to your parents, invest in your family, like build that community, like start the wealth there so that then you expand from that. You know what I mean? But like, we're just taught to be so independent and just, thinking about ourselves that I just don't think we think enough about each other. And because my thing is like, we're all reflective of each other. So, me asking you how you're doing and you telling me, and whatever feelings I feel behind what you're telling me is a reflection of like, well, if I'm feeling this way about it, then that's something that you're teaching me about myself, because if it isn't anything, it shouldn't bother me. But if it's bothering me, then that's something that I need to, and so I'm learning from communicating with you. You know what I mean? So just like interacting and really like intertwining in each other more to really like connect that space. You know what I mean?
Definitely. That's something I found fascinating when I went to India. Like the very culture is far more community-based and less independent. And pros and cons to both, right? Finding a balance is nice. But still, it was really beautiful experience for me because I had a very minimal experience of that growing up in this American culture, especially with like my family. So getting to see that, and then like especially marrying Shrav, like learning about how her family is and how the relationships between everybody goes. It's very interesting. Like she had to deal with the complete opposite end. I was pretty much left almost alone too much. And she was like trying to be forced into arranged marriages and stuff like that. So complete opposite end. And it's just fascinating. But that community connectedness is what's so beautiful, I guess, when done well. It can be a nightmare, I guess, sometimes. But.
Yeah. But, I'd rather the support than none at all. You know what I mean? Like, you just got to compromise.
At least someone's got your back.
Okay, now, But even with that, because, like, even when I'm thinking about, like, okay, you're living at home, and it's like, well, but I want to be doing grown folk stuff. So it's like, yeah, so, get a tiny home on the land and live in there so you still have, your privacy and stuff like that. But it's not just like, I just don't, and I mean, that's how we all grew up. So, it's just kind of, like I said, like trying to find that compromise, yeah, but I'd rather community than none at all. But I've always been communal, so, and I think that it's because of like, and I'm thinking about like with my mom, we always had other people living in the house. Like I said, it would be like a cousin, an uncle, nieces, nephews, like whoever, like there was always some extra company, in our home. But I love that. So, yeah, it just made me always appreciate, supporting each other and stuff like that. So I definitely want that more for, because the more, of course, like one person's doing it, then that one person will then influence somebody else, and then, and it just grows that way. And then the whole world, I don't know why things can really be that simple. Like, as simple as it really can be. I have no idea why somebody decides to hate on it. Like, I'm not telling nobody nothing. It's going to stop right here. I don't know. But I do wish that, we could really figure this out. I do. But until then, I'll just be in the rainforest and welcoming everyone in, whoever wants to come and, get them some. But, yeah.
Copy that. I'm curious, as now that you have your own kid, How has it been in terms of like thinking back and maybe appreciating stuff that your parents did growing up or deciding to do different?
Right. So I think that me having my child older is making a big difference on my approach because there's more of a patience there. On top of it, so what really influenced me was I, at one point, like right after college, started hanging with a group of women that they were all so dope to me. And they were roughly almost like 10 years older than me. But they never knew how young I was because I always had like an older soul. So I just would, it wouldn't be until we're talking about something like, oh, I forgot you were just a baby, And so I was always around them. And so in my 20s, when I was in my 20s, they were in their 30s. They all had children in their early 20s. But they were coming from a community that was like Afrocentric based. And so they were bringing their children up different. And I don't know what influenced them. I think it was maybe because most of them were in New York. So I think it was the influence of the city and stuff that then had them raising their children totally different than their parents had raised them. And so...
What did you call it? Afrocentric?
Afrocentric.
So what's that mean?
So like all of their teachings were African-based. So like...
So somehow trying to get back to the roots and...
Right.
Like that?
So like at one point when like Marcus Garvey was saying like... let's go back to Africa and all of that. So there was like a group that was like really influenced, like up in that like DMV area, New York and everything else like that. So, so that's like what's also, so that community or whatever was, they were just bringing their children up different, like screw the curriculum in school, or you're going to learn your real history. And, I'm going to raise you like as a warrior. Whereas before it was, you were being taught to be submissive or just like, okay, like kind of be quiet. You know what I'm saying? They were teaching their children to have voices. And so, whereas like my parents' generation, you were told, when you're in a room with adults, matter of fact, you probably shouldn't even be in that room because you ain't grown. You know what I'm saying? And if you are, like, you don't interrupt the conversation. You don't have anything to say. You know what I'm saying? Grown folks are talking, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just a child. You're just a child. So you then lose a lot, right? Or we were losing a lot. This generation, these friends of mine were allowing their children to talk and be expressive. And so I was around them a lot and around them, like raising their children. I loved, like, even just like how they, like, my eating habits had changed by then, and they were in the same type of eating habits. So, vegetarian, vegan, and all of that before it became like a real hype, right? And so that also, so all of, like, it was just like a perfect like blueprint for me to like see like, oh, okay, because I didn't have that to any guidance as far as that. And so being around them influenced me a lot of how, and even then, like taking notes, just like, okay, I will do this. Probably not that, or just that, whatever, just having that middle ground, but taking from both, you know what I'm saying? So seeing things that my mother did with us that worked for us, and just being able to like just create my own, like, I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like religion, like I was always able to just like, if I didn't have like a certain belief, I was able to just like create my own. Like I, even down to like reli especially when I got to college, you know, you just pick this, that, and I just was like, I'm gonna just have my own. You know what I'm saying? Just what I do, how I do what I do. You know, and I like this from this one and this one, you know. So, you know, definitely with me, with her, like I said, my biggest thing with Rainbow is just like allowing her to really fully be herself and not, you know, lose that. And so I've been able to learn that. My mother always taught us to be independent. As far as just like having your own, not being alone, but just, you know, being able to have your own and stuff. And it's funny because she never even like, you know, you got some moms that when you got old enough, they're like, when you gonna give me a grandbaby, you know?
Yeah.
My mother never asked for another. Like, she didn't ever ask for, I had to be the one to say, you know what? You cannot leave this realm and not be having a grandchild. So, you know, I didn't like dig on this vision, but I knew the power of my words. So, you know, once it was in place, like I had gone to see the reader. The reader had already told me, like, you're gonna have 2 children. So, you know, I was just on this whole mission with that. But so she was teaching us that way. So, you know, that's instilled in me of independency, and that's in thought, minds, all of that, you know. So just allowing that space and respect, like it's a respect factor. You know what I'm saying? I don't see you as just a kid. You know, I recognize that you came into this realm a whole entity. You know, you chose me. You know, so I have to respect that. You know, so so I'm influenced from my parents' generation on certain things, but then also, you know, the friends, my 1 decade older friends, you know, and just their way of doing things. So
Fair enough.
yeah, and because I was older when I had her, like I had time to, you know, kind of figure that out, you know, and now because I'm settled in my career and everything else, that I just have that extra time to be able to, you know, make it all work. Whereas when younger, a lot of them, like, they were doing a lot at once. They were working, grinding, like trying to figure out what they're going to be doing in their life, you know, raising the children and possibly being in a relationship with whoever, you know, they were creating, you know, life with. And so that's a lot to take on at once, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, so not to have to do all of that all at once, like, I feel good. I'm like, oh, I did it just right. You know, so it just sucks because a lot of my friends did have children way before now. And so, you know, Rainbow's kind of like the loner baby out there. But then again, it doesn't suck because they miss their children being as young as her. So all of them were like, oh, you can bring her over. And, you know, they miss that space. So they're all loving on her. So
Now she's got tons of family.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. Like Rainbow's a special child. My child has 9 godmothers.
Oh, wow.
She has a godmother for every color of the rainbow. And then at the end of each rainbow, there's a pot of gold. So she needs a golden godmother. And then I think every child needs a fairy godmother. So she just has a full, she's protected.
She's good.
She's good. More than good. So yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So if you have to think about the next 5 years, just for you personally, like just for fun, do you have any plans or things you're working toward or anything like that?
Yes. Because I'm about to be 40. So, okay, we're talking about mid-40s. Well, okay. So I'm really big about, like, do you ever get readings? Have you ever gotten a reading before?
When I was in 4th grade, someone read my palm and said that I would end up dying somewhere in my 80s or 90s, and I'd live on a beach. And I think my mom just brought this up recently, that she said I would end up marrying someone who flew a different flag, which would be Trump.
Wow. Wow. So wait, how did you even get your palm read? Like,
I was in 4th grade. I think there was just like a booth. I really don't know.
So you were with your mom and your mom. Okay. So you went. Okay, it was somewhere. Okay, got you.
Not some random person be like, "Hey, little kid, come here."
Right. So that's what I was like. I need the detail on how this actually went down. Okay. So your mom was the one. Because was your mom into like, did she like readings and stuff like that as well? Or it just happened to be that time and space?
I mean, she's not like super big into it, but she does like here and there. Like we'll do a tarot card or something just for fun and things like that. She's always been a little into meditation and stuff, but I think that particular time I was like 10, and I was like, ooh, let's do that, and it was just that simple.
Okay.
It was like, oh, okay, here we go.
Right.
Questionable palm reader in the circus or whatever it was.
So yeah, I like readings. I'm not like a reading junkie, right? Like I don't have to get readings for every step of my life. But I had found, and what I appreciated was, I've never seen this guy before. It's happened over the phone. He lives in Cincinnati, but he was referred to me. One of my clients referred me to him, and he's older, and so it was just and old school. Like I had to send him a check in the mail, and when he got the check, then he's like, "Okay, then we can do the reading," So, but his readings have been really good. And I've only gotten 2, and I got one. It must have been about almost going on 10 years ago. And then I got one since Rainbow's been here. And he was telling me that in my 40s and 50s that I would be leading masses. And he was like, not necessarily political, but, and the way that he does his readings is he taps into my angels and ancestors that are there, like telling him, like, being in me and like giving this message, you know what I mean? And so, so he said that. And so I've been just curious, like, I wonder how this is about to, go down. Like, what kind of that? And I can't even see myself, I really couldn't even see myself being like a leader like that in the sense of what I was in my mind thinking as a leader. Just because, like, I love people to just be able to be who they are. And I like to just kind of mix and mingle, right, in the ground. Like, but then again, I do like dictator stuff, but that's different, So, I've been wondering it. And so just more recently, when I spent time with myself and New Year's Eve for the first time ever, I always brought in New Year's Eve with friends, family, whatever. But some spirit came and said, do it alone. Just try it. And I knew it would be, so I thought, difficult because I am just never by myself. I love company. And so I decided to do it. I even sent Rainbow to my mother's house or whatever. And I brought it in by myself. I was building fire in my fireplace, and I made some moon water because it was a full moon this last New Year's Eve. And I made some moon water and put my intentions and stuff. So I was in like a personal boot camp. Like I was like, all right, I collected all this wood. And I said, okay, my goal for the night is I have to burn all this wood. It was like a stack of wood. And I have to drink all my moon water. And so, at some point, like, I was tired, but I was like, no, you gotta keep going. Crack, burn, drink, water, but then like, I started getting like really pumped and excited about it. And I was like, be free. So I just took it off, everything. So at one point, I'm going outside completely nude, picking up firewood, bringing it inside, burning it, drinking my water. And it was just so liberating and so free and so beautiful. And I was just like, everyone needs to be able to experience this. So I started being on this mission starting this year of doing these full moon sister circle burns. And it'll be like a small group of women that I would bring to the rainforest. Because my forest is magical. I I don't know fully why. I mean, I probably do. Like, it's just the enrichment of the land, right? Like,
It's a lot of good you do here.
yeah. And whoever has walked these states before, they just let it. So it's beautiful. It's magical. So I've just been on this mission to just introduce women to that space, as far as just connecting with themselves. So make your moon water. You know what I mean? We burn away the things that no longer serve you, and and we'll pull cards to see what's to come. And it's such a beautiful space every time. In every circle is a different group of women. Some are the same, but mostly it's usually a shift and change. And so it's started small. And so now, and then recently, 5/5/5, May 5th of 2021, which is another 5, we built a sweat lodge on my land.
Oh, yeah?
And that was significant because then I found out that 5 is the number for community. And the whole point of building the lodge was for community to come and get healing. So just creating space on the blessing I have to have this space and letting people come and find their healing in whatever ways, they see fit, I've even opened up my inside, in this specific room for ayahuasca ceremonies. And so, I just I'm just listening. I'm just listening, and I'm just really following, going with that flow of what's within me and what's around me. And I can see that building into something grand, So in the next 5 years, really just being on, I definitely would still have the salon. I don't want to necessarily have to be behind the chair all the time. So even with that, building a team so I can have that, popping where I don't have to be there all the time. And then I can just spend time with Rainbow and kicking it with, my homie and just enjoying her, because that goes so fast, and then doing, ceremonies and stuff, and just having a communal space, but a beautiful, respectful communal space. Not like those ones that you get tired of. Y'all always coming in, y'all always checking dirt in my house, but older, so people are mature and they know what they're doing, and but yeah, just providing space for healing, so maybe that's the kind of leadership, I don't know. But so again, this is going back to the fawns. They were frolicking in the rainforest yesterday. Part of that message was knowing your value and letting that move you and letting that guide me to just do me, and everything else will reflect, or be reflective, right? So I don't have to try to figure out are they even gonna listen to this? Just do you. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta know that doing you works. Because again, you've been doing you for, as an adult, 21 years, and everything's been gravy, So just allowing people to open, be able to open up and do them, by just however that may be, I'm not in here trying to memorize anything to then try to tell you, I'm not going to read no verses or nothing to you. I just want you to come and be free, and just so allowing that space, allowing people to be free again, so whatever that may entail. So 5 years from there, I will still have my doors open. Matter of fact, Rainbow will be the one welcoming them in, saging them down. Rainbow love to get saged, so she'll be the one that sages down and all of it. But yeah, just owning my own and showing other people how to own their own, or letting them just own their own and just providing that space for them to do it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. Well, before we close, is there any, I guess, like a message you want to put out?
I think that now more than ever, how we were just talking about that, you know, every generation and everything going on is you want it to be better, bigger, better, right? So, like just right now, we really have the ability to be who we and know that we want to be, right? So just pushing people to own that, to own who they are, and not have any fears, letting go of all those fears, because those fears are not real. Like we created them within. So as soon as we stop believing in them, they don't exist. And so just, telling people stop being fearful and live, like really be. And find that thing that really clicks and trusting it. So trusting the process, knowing the like what you feel is real, and not pushing it out like no, and trying to talk yourself out of it, but like waking up in the first things that you're feeling and thinking and letting that guide you for the day, right? So just being free and just flowing, you know, like water, or going with the breeze and in the ease. But yeah, I just want people to be easy. And of course, love being at the root of all of that, So yeah, just trust, get rid of your fears, and love, and be the best you can be. I know it may be like real cheesy and corny, but that's real.
No.
Enough of us, don't really like we're not really walking our real walk. We're masking, and masks aren't even bad. Like there are certain, I'm learning that like masks are necessary for certain things that you need to be getting done. So not masking in the sense of hiding your identity or put on a facade, but more of in a way to like almost like be focused. Like you don't need to know who's under this mask in order to appreciate what's happening, right? So put on your different mask, but get it done. But
Well, it's like if I need a surgery and you're the surgeon, I don't need to know all the goofy stuff. I just need you to be the surgeon right now and do the surgery.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? So yeah. But being able to own all those spaces. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, do you have any like a website or social media or anything like that?
Oh yeah. So my salon it's a Natural Thang salon, and so that's THANG. So my website is natural thang THANG.com. And then of course you can always just hit me up on the cell 404-376-8028. And yeah, and you can hit that same number if you want to learn some piano lessons as well. So yes, and we're called the Rainmakers.
Oh,
I say my name and put it in every time. That dictated clicks in sometimes, but RAY of course in makers. But yes, Yeah, I'm definitely open for business. For businesses. So, yes.
Oh, wonderful. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. That is the end. So we'll catch you in the next episode.
Yay!
All right.
Thanks, Heath.
Thank you.
This was great. No, this was probably the best interview I've ever done.
Yeah?
Yes, and I haven't done many.
Woohoo.
But
Hey, I'll take it.
so totally like comfy and fun and yeah. Thanks. I liked it. Appreciate it.